Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, you're having a great start to the new year. What is it, the 5th? It's great. It's starting up. We've got new product launches just coming like crazy. It's just a wild time. I love this time of year. I love new product launches, and it just gets me super excited. So, before we get into today, I want to let you know again. This show brought to you by Titleist and the Pro V1 and Pro V1X golf balls. We all have different ability levels and goals, but one thing we share is a desire to bring our very best every time we tee it up. And it all starts with choosing a golf ball you can trust. The Pro V1 is the best combination of speed, spin, and feel in the game. And the X gives you a higher flight and firmer feel. Both deliver long distance, consistent flight, soft feel, and all-important drop and stop greenside control. So whether you're Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, or Nelly Korda competing at the game's highest levels, or simply striving to be the best you can be, tee up a Pro V1 or Pro V1X and always bring your best. So go to Titleist.com, check out the Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Another year, excited that happy to be a partner with Titleist on this show. It's awesome. Yeah, great start to the year. The year has been short, only 5 days in, but we're already into launches. It's already started, which is awesome. We saw new stuff from Strixon, new woods, drivers, fairways, hybrids, and then last night, which is kind of interesting that it kind of popped off last night. If you were on social media of any kind, you probably saw the launch of Callaway's Paradigm clubs as well. So woods, fairway or drivers, fairways, hybrids, irons. It's all there. They had a big thing out in California. I want to say it was outside of Carlsbad. I don't think it was in Carlsbad, but they had a big thing going on. I talked to my boy Johnny Wonder. I apologize that I was not there. I think he was. We were both bummed that we weren't going to hang out last night, but they had a big launch. They just announced like their partnership with the guys from Good Good. And if you're not familiar with those guys, they're a bunch of guys on YouTube who create a bunch of golf content, and they're growing like absolute crazy. So they got a partnership with them. And then, Paradigm stuff. I had a couple friends that were at the launch event, said it was absolutely insane. It was really wild. Had a great time. Got to hit the product. Everybody was super, super stoked. I, unfortunately, was not there. I was in the, I won't say cold, but the more mild, but yet very foggy and somewhat rainy state of Michigan, even though everybody was out west checking out the new stuff. But I wasn't left out. I definitely had my hands on some of the Paradigm product and got to be head out to I went to the Dome, unfortunately, but you do what you can in situations like this. But went to the Dome, got the drivers, fairways, even the irons and the hybrid out there. And today we're going to talk my initial review of the woods or the drivers, and then maybe next week. Who knows? We're going to fit it all in. It's a ton of stuff going on, so there's going to be a lot of content over the next few weeks with all the launches and everything that's going on. So we're going to do drivers today. I'll do my kind of initial impressions, throw a few numbers at you that I saw, because I did bring the full swing kit, the launch monitor out there. It's funny because the Dome that I went to is called C.J. Barrymore's, and they've got a golf dome. They've actually got an outdoor range, which is, depending on the time of year, either very consumed or it does have some grass. It just depends on when you get there. But they have a dome, and it's pretty popular in the winter. It is full. I went on a Tuesday. I went yesterday. So Wednesday at 2:00, and it's 2 levels. So there's they have the ground level where you hit, and then they have a second level platform that you hit off of. So 2 levels, and I got the last spot on the lower level, and people had already. And the only reason I got the last spot is it was kind of hidden behind the cash register and the stairs that walk up to the second level, so nobody really saw it. And I kind of looked around, and I noticed, because I think the guy even said, the guy was like, "Yeah, I think you got to go up top," and I was like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I don't care." And then I looked around the corner, and I was like, "I don't think anybody's at that bay," so I kind of snuck around and got the lower level. And I do like the lower level because I am not a guy who's a big fan of heights, and not that that's that high, but just hitting balls, for whatever reason, I'm always worried that I'm going to hit some shot and my momentum's going to propel me forward and I'm going to fall into that net they've got that catches people. So I'm never a big fan of going up there and hitting balls. I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but it's not something that I truly enjoy. And I probably hit the ball. I don't hit the ball as well there as I do down on the first floor, which is kind of dumb, but it is kind of what it is. So, but got to go out there, and it was interesting because they just installed this year, actually just very, very recently, Top Tracer in their dome, which, if you've never hit inside a dome, it's a huge bubble, basically. It's a fabric type construction. It's a big half circle, and it's usually, most domes that I've seen are around 75 yards long. So you see 75 yards of ball flight. The ball hits the back wall, falls down, and that's it. And they usually throw targets and all sorts of little things all over the floor and on the wall. There's bullseyes and stuff like that, so you can kind of aim at stuff. For some of you southern or southwest people, you may have never seen or had to hit it inside of a dome. It's not great. It's not fun, but it is what it is, and you do what you can do in the north. So, but went there, but they had Top Tracer installed, which I didn't. A buddy of mine told me about, but I didn't realize until I got there. I kind of forgot. So they had that, and then I also brought the full swing just so I could do kind of both, and the numbers on the full swing I could trust a little more. And also, Top Tracer doesn't give you spin. It gave you kind of like it basically gave you launch direction, ball speed, and something else. And the interesting thing is ball speed on Top Tracer was I think a little juiced. I think I've come to kind of trust the full swing more and more. The more I used it, the more the updates they've come through. And I've hit it against some very expensive units like TrackMan and stuff like that. And it seems to be very, very accurate and very, very close, especially parameters like ball speed and stuff like that, and launch angle. And ball speed and launch angle were a little different on Top Tracer compared to full swing. The ball speed was always like 3 to 4 miles an hour faster. But it didn't necessarily say that like the carry was always longer. It was really interesting because the ball speed was always really fast, but it always came out low on Top Tracer. It always said it came out lower, usually by like at least a degree. And then the distance wise, there was definitely a little difference in the total distance and stuff between shots. And there were shots that I hit that were really good, and I'd look on the full swing and I'd be like, oh wow, that was a good shot. And then you'd look on the Top Tracer and you're like, wow, that was significantly shorter and just different, like lower launching, flatter, whatever. So I had both, and thankfully I did, because I think like I said, I didn't necessarily go all in on the Top Tracer numbers, but it was interesting to have it there. And there were a lot of people who were grinding on those numbers, man. Just looking around me, every shot they turn around and just walk over to the big screen and kind of look at it and da da da. And I wonder how accurate those really are. So brought the full swing, had the Paradym, and if you haven't seen the new Paradym stuff yet, if you're like I said, the launch was kind of 6 o'clock Eastern time, so it was a little later for some of us, or eating dinner time or whatever. But the new Paradym is the new driver from Callaway that is basically a 3-piece design. Now I've got 2 of the pieces here because the third piece is on my workshop bench over there, and I forgot to grab it. But the big talk this year is the whole middle section is a 360-degree carbon chassis, as they call it. So the sole and the top are carbon. They're attached, and then both pieces are completely hollow. It's completely hollow, and then it attaches to the titanium face. And then on the back, depending on the model, there's either a screw-in adjustable weight or a sliding track weight, depending on the model. But a pretty cool design. It kind of throws back a little bit to the days of FT3, or Fusion, FT3, FT5, FT9, all those that kind of had the carbon cup on the back, and the face was just titanium. Kind of a little throwback to that in terms of design. It is way, way updated compared to that. When you look at, I remember seeing one of those, taken apart, kind of like this exploded head I have in my hand if you're watching on YouTube. Excuse me. But much thinner, much lighter carbon than back in those days. Back in those days, the carbon was really thick, and they had some weights molded into internally and stuff like that. This is super thin, and they use the old forged carbon on the sole, and then a standard woven carbon on the top. And basically it's just different materials for different strength needs. And the forged carbon, they can forge a little more intricate details into, where woven carbon is best for kind of just a simple kind of concave look like the crown of a golf club. So pretty interesting that they have, a whole 360-degree chassis, and it's on all three of the drivers. They're just slightly different depending on what model. And again, this year we're rolling with three drivers. So you have the Paradym, which is kind of the standard model, and the one that should fit the most golfers in terms of, it's got a sliding weight track. It 460 cc's. It's pretty neutral weighted, but higher launch and low spin. But a lot of forgiveness in it because all the weight is either in the face or the sliding weight track, and the lightest part is in the middle. So a ton of stability in there. And then they have the Paradym, then there's the Paradym X, which is the highest launching, a little more draw bias profile. And then of course, Paradym Triple Diamond, which is 450 cc, so about 10 cc smaller, and got the most compact shape, and will be the lowest launching and lowest spinning. So three different models. They all kind of use the new AI face and AI jailbreak, and the jailbreak is supposed to be lighter now. And as you can see, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, as I look in there, the jailbreak used to be 2 bars that ran from the sole to the crown of the club, right behind the face. It's now kind of melted into one piece that's there, and I guess it's much lighter this way, and then a revised AI face, as you can see, kind of welded in there as well. So, excuse me, pretty cool, pretty interesting, and from what I heard before I even got to hit it, that the sound was great, that the performance was really good. Tursky went out there for the launch, out to Carlsbad for the launch before this event, and I remember getting a text from him, and he's like, this thing is like 9 yards longer than my Rogue. So, and he was in love with his Rogue ST Triple Diamond. So I think I was like, okay, I'm excited to try this stuff out. So I have all three heads. The Triple Diamond, which is that one, the sliding weight on the standard Paradym, and then I've got the Paradym X. So got to go hit all three, which was pretty awesome. I was excited to hit them and kind of try them out and get kind of my initial thoughts on all three heads. And I can't wait to get them out on the course. I was actually really impressed. I think if you've known and you've followed this podcast for a little while, I've struggled with Callaway drivers ever since the original Epic. The original Epic I absolutely loved. I absolutely killed that thing. I ordered it short. I had two sliding weights in the back. And it was awesome. It was a really good driver. It was kind of the last driver I really gamed. And then, after that, I think was Rogue, and I never hit that really well. And then, the Epic, and then I think it came back to like Epic Flash but the last few series, though, the Rogue ST, I did like. I hit that pretty good. The Max LS was pretty darn solid, and that was getting close to, battling with some of the other drivers for kind of that gamer status. So I was really excited to try these, and I really do want, I think every year I want everything to have a shot at the bag. I want everything I hit to be, have a shot. And I know that's not the case. I know there's clubs out there that just don't work for your swing, and that's okay. And that's why there's, so much golf equipment out there, is that everybody swings it different. Everybody hits it different, and certain clubs just are going to work better for you than others. It doesn't mean they're bad by any means. Because last year, the Rogue ST Max LS wasn't my gamer, but I saw him in a ton of bags, and on the forums and you golf WRXers and all that, a ton of people played him. So it's evidently a good driver. It just wasn't in my bag. But this year, like I said, brand new Paradym, and the Paradym name is for the paradigm shift in how they're building the drivers. And overall, from looks, I think they look really cool. I like kind of the blue forged carbon. You're not going to be able to see it here on even YouTube. My basement here is not, it's lit up decent, but it's not lit up enough where you're really going to see the forged carbon. But the sole, you can see the forged carbon, and then which is navy blue, and then it's got gold accents. The back sliding weight is gold on the standard Paradym, and then the top is kind of a blue woven carbon fiber that you can see there. It's got kind of a unique look where you do see the carbon top, and then you've got kind of a matte black, a small section of matte black on the crown where the carbon crown meets the titanium face. And then really you don't see anything else other than carbon until the very back, where you see a little bit, kind of two little tabs as they come up from the back, where either the sliding weight or the adjustable weight are on those specific drivers. So Overall, I really like the look. I think the shaping is still Callaway, but I think it's a little more traditional. I thought some of the Epic, what was it? The Epic Flash, or was it? Or was it no, just Epic, like the Epic Speed, Epic Max LS, all that. I thought those got a little stretched out and a little funky in terms of the look. I'm a Max LS guy, but I'm a big fan of that because it's still forgiving, yet it's pretty low spin. And I just felt like the shaping on those was getting a little stretchy, a little further from traditional. And I feel like the Paradigm kind of goes back to a little more simple lines, a little more traditional lines, especially in the Paradigm and the Triple Diamond. Even the X, though, I mean, it's the biggest footprint, and it is stretched probably the most from front to back. It still looks really good and really proportionate, and I think they did a nice job in the shaping. I really like the matte black, how it works with the carbon crown. And I know some people, in the forums, they'll either, they won't like blue or they don't like a shape or whatever. And I get it. Everybody's eye is a little different. But I think for me, I really like the shaping. And I think it's an improvement over the Rogue ST in terms of all these drivers. Even the Triple Diamond, I think has a really good look to it. It's, I wouldn't call it necessarily pear-shaped, but it's pretty close. And they also, on the Triple Diamond, lose the chevron alignment crown, so the top is very clean. But it's pretty good line. Like I said, I like the look. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks pretty classy. And from the bottom, where most people will see it on the show floor, it's got that shiny, forged carbon, and then kind of the darkish chrome titanium section. So I think when you look at it from the bottom and you see it on the showroom floor at your local shop, it's going to look pretty good. It's going to stand out. It's going to be something you want to touch. And then from the top, the matte finish on the titanium, just the blue carbon weave. I think it's simple enough where it's not going to be distracting or anything like that. So it'll also be interesting because Callaway, known for doing some custom stuff, I have heard nothing, but I would assume that much like all the other drivers they've had come out lately, there'll probably be some type of custom color option announced in the next few months or something, or shortly after the launch. I would expect this spring you'll see the ability to kind of, adjust colors and get something different in here. It'll be interesting because, the other ones, they were doing a lot of paint fill and all that, and these, there's no real paint fill. Everything's kind of just painted on the sole. There's not a whole lot of stuff that is very changeable from what I can see. Other than maybe doing a whole thing in some type of different color carbon, which would be interesting. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see if they do anything on the custom end. So, excuse me. So the first driver getting to the old dome, I basically the guys from Callaway were really nice to get me this stuff really quick, and they kind of packed up and they basically just asked, "Hey, can we send you one shaft and all three heads?" And I was like, "That's totally fine." Whatever head that I kind of gravitate towards, I'm going to put an all-fit screw in anyway, so I can use my plethora of shafts as it is. So I basically just hit all three of these heads with the new Project X Hazardous Silver, which is a kind of mid-launch, low spin or mid-low spin shaft offering. I haven't seen it before, but kind of a mid-launch option of the old Project Hazardous. So that shaft there, hitting that, it's a good shaft. It doesn't play crazy stout. I feel like it even plays a little softer than the Hazardous Black Gen 4. The silver has the same graphics. It's just silver with a whitish silver Hazardous logo. So it looks just like a Hazardous Black 4th Gen, except the whole shaft is silver. But doesn't play quite as stout. Is a little more active. You can tell like the I don't know if it's necessarily the tip, but down kind of that lower third of the shaft is definitely a little bit softer, and it's got a little more lively feel to it than the Hazardous Gen 4 Black. But overall, a good shaft, and like I said, hit it with all these. I don't know if it's one that I truly love for my swing. It makes sense in terms of its kind of mid-launching and a little bit lower spin, but I don't know if it was necessarily something I love. And then head-wise, I got the Paradigm Triple Diamond, 9 degree heads. The X came to me in a 10.5. So when I throw a few numbers in terms of comparing these two, just remember that the X is a little higher launching. So, I mean, it's higher launching anyway, but the it does have a little more loft on it in anyway. So not only is it higher launching head by design, a little higher launching because it is a degree higher launching than the other two. So between these, though, they do have a slightly kind of different sound. It's interesting. The Paradym itself, to me, kind of had the most muted and kind of lowest pitched sound and impact. I think the sound is awesome. I really like it. It's super quiet. Like hitting in a dome just amplifies everything. I mean, everything from the balls that hit the wall to the sound. I had another driver, two drivers in the bag, that I took a few swings at the end just to kind of hit because I was running out of time and focused most of the time on these and most of the balls in the bucket on these. But I did hit a few with two other drivers that I brought, and the sound difference was astronomical. The Paradym was so much quieter than these other two drivers, which was unbelievable. But I mean, you tell right away. But Paradym X probably had the standard Paradym with the sliding weight probably had the most muted, kind of a crack sound to it when the ball left the face. Really good responsiveness. You could definitely tell, where you hit it on the face. The first few were definitely a little further off the toe, but very responsive. You knew kind of immediately when you missed it, but the sound and everything was really good. The Triple Diamond got a little more metallic, a slight pitch higher in terms of the note. It was noticeable indoors. I don't know if I'd be able to notice it outdoors on the course very much, but the sound on the Triple Diamond was just a hair higher. And then the X, to me, kind of had like the loudest, and by loudest, I mean that's a pretty low bar in terms of how loud it was. It was pretty quiet, but that was kind of the loudest, and had again a slightly more metallic, higher pitched ting to it than the crack that came off the Paradym. Like I said, all pretty close. I liked all three. It was just, especially when you're rotating between all three heads, you kind of see that real quick. I think if it's something where you go into a fitting, most people, unless you're hitting three heads and just swapping them right there and going back and forth, I don't think you're going to notice a whole big difference, but I did notice that. The Triple Diamond definitely kind of felt the most solid. The impact there, you kind of felt the ball compress the most. And then, like I said, the X, you definitely knew, the X and the Paradym were kind of equal when it came to forgiveness and that solid feel. They were really good. And, they were all solid. Like I said, really impressed with the sound. I liked it. I think it's an improvement over the Rogue ST. I thought it was much more muted and definitely not as high pitch tone at impact with the three Paradym. So the Paradym was the one that I thought for sure that would be my, the one that kind of fits me the best. The interesting thing is that that day so far was not the best. It was actually kind of the I wouldn't say the worst for me, but it was not like the clear-cut winner like I thought it would be. I didn't have a whole lot of time to mess around with the sliding weight yet, and also I didn't really care that much because I couldn't see the full ball flight. So well, I'm going to take these again to the range. I'm going to try to play with them as much as I can. Like I said, I did play this week again, so if the winter can stay a little mild, I might be able to sneak out, but I'm going to save messing with the weight until I get to the actual range, can see full ball flight and see kind of what changes it really makes. But the Paradym was, for me, out of the three, the shortest of the three for me, and the Triple Diamond was the longest, which was kind of crazy. I didn't think it would be that way. Like I said, I thought for sure the Triple Diamond would be, the one that I struggled with the most, just because it was a little smaller. If you miss it, not as much face, not as much face real estate, and therefore you'd see some ball speed drop off, but ended up not being the case. So it was interesting. The Paradym X for me was the shortest by, a couple yards. We're talking a couple yards here, and when you look at in terms of best to worst out of these three, we're talking basically 4 yards, which on the course, would I notice 4 yards? No, I'm not going to notice 4 yards. So a lot of these will come down, it'll come down to dispersion on the course and on the range for real. And also, messing with a couple different shafts, but realistically 4 yards difference between these three is really not much. And it was so the Paradym came in, the Paradym, the first one, or the standard Paradym, weight set in neutral, all that with the hosel settings neutral, so it was a 9-degree head. And like I said, all three with the exact same shaft because I just swapped them out. This thing was a carry of 228, which I know isn't super impressive, but 228 carry. And these are all normalized numbers because the ball only went 75 yards, and then the full swing would kind of calculate after that. So 228. It actually for me spun the highest, which is interesting. I thought the X would for sure spin the highest. I mean, we're talking 30. 32 RPM, something like that is difference. Realistically, the difference between the Triple Diamond that spun the least and the Paradigm was about 100 RPM difference for me. And again, we're talking like range balls, so I'm not getting crazy into it, but there's not a huge difference. But the Paradigm spun on average just over 3,000 RPM, so 3,029 RPM. It had a ball speed of 144.9, smash factor of 143, and flew kind of the lowest for me, which was interesting. At 71 feet was the apex, but launched at 12.3. So, out of that, excuse me, hit a lot of, good shots with it, and honestly saw that most shots of this thing were, straight to a little bit of a draw. It was pretty easy to square up, to turn over. Like I said, the launch was decent. It felt higher than 12.3 hitting it out there. Now, to be 100% honest, I did hit a few low toe, draws or hooks, if you want to call them that. So, I mean, those type of shots do, I don't want to say skew the numbers because, I mean, I hit a few of those shots with all three, but, I did hit a few of those in there. But when I hit it solid, it basically looked to have kind of a gentle little draw to it, and the ball got up really easy, really quick. Ball speed on off-speed hits seemed to be really solid. There wasn't a ton of drop-off. And the other amazing thing was and with really all three of these, which I was pretty impressed with, was mishits, the spin number didn't get crazy different. When you looked into into all the shots, and you look at all the shots I hit with these things, the spin numbers didn't really change. When you miss it on the toe, you hit it low heel, it was a couple hundred RPM that was changing. It wasn't wildly. I mean, I think the biggest change, I think there was probably a shot with like Triple Diamond that was like 2,400 in terms of spin, and then catching it kind of on a miss hit, you may get it up to like 3,400 or something like that. But there was nothing that ever got really more than like 3,500, even with like the X, which is kind of the higher spinning head, or supposedly the higher spinning head. But nothing that the consistency of the spin, no matter where you hit it on the face, was really impressive. Because every time I hit a ball, even if I was like, oh man, I hit it off the toe or I hit it a low heel, you'd look back and the spin number was kind of that right around the 3,000 mark. And for me, that's about where I live. Sometimes I can get a little lower when I'm in kind of like that mid-season peak form. But for a lot of stuff like this, I'm pretty close to that 3,000 mark. And if I can keep it right around there, just under, I'm pretty happy. But like I said, the spin consistency on strikes across the face was really impressive, and something that I didn't really think about until I came back home and I was kind of looking at the numbers before recording this and all that, and then I was kind of just like, yeah, there was never like a shot where you hit it high in the face or something like that just spun out of control and had like that 4,500 number or something like that. Never had one of those. Everything was really consistent in terms of spin. So yeah, the Paradigm launched 12.3, and then I moved over to the X, which ended up being a one that I hit really well. Is hit well also. Now the Paradigm, I think, had a little more neutral ball flight, a little straighter ball flight. Definitely some gentle draws, stuff like that. The X was definitely the easiest one to turn over. It was the one that has the most weight in the heel. It was easier to turn over, and you could kind of feel it. The face would kind of want to close real quick, and you could definitely hit some draws with this thing. And I was a little worried, like, with all drivers that are kind of built for a little more draw, that this thing was just going to be left off the planet, and it wasn't that way. I mean, it definitely had some draws, and of course with my my swing, I hit some stuff to the left for sure. But in terms of just overall good swings, it pretty much took the right side out of play and just had kind of a pretty consistent draw to it. It wasn't anything really wildly out of place or crazy, and it was very forgiving. I mean, again, this thing here, ball speed on miss hits, ended up being really good. Now this one here, really close to the Paradigm in terms of distance. Carry wise, you're at 230. Spin wise is 2,998 was that. And I think a lot of that being a little bit lower spin for me is somebody that I already draw the ball. This is built to hit a little bit of a draw, and I didn't hit one shot that went to the right. I don't think I hit too many that were very like perfectly straight balls either. Everything kind of had a little bit of that draw curvature to it, which when you're hitting draws, you're hitting lower spin shots. And then a ball speed number of basically 144. It was 143.9. But with smash factor of 145, so I was definitely hitting it a little closer to center, a little more consistently with the Paradym X, and then Apex was for sure the highest, as was the launch. So this thing, the high was flying at 100 feet, and the launch was 14.6. Now the launch, again, that number is slightly deceiving when comparing these three because this is a 10.5 head and these two are 9s. But I think even with a 9-degree head, this thing was still going to launch the highest. Just the window it got to right out of the gate was, you could just tell it was flying higher than all the other ones. But the Paradym X was a lot better than I thought it was going to be for me. Like I said, I was a little worried that this was going to turn into the big time hook machine, and it would was kind of going to hit some uncontrollable shots to the left, and it definitely wasn't the case. It definitely hit some really good balls, and actually was shocked that it kind of did as well as it did, and it kind of was a little better than the Paradym for me right out of the gate. And then I forgot, here's I'm doing this on both YouTube and what do you call it, and for the podcast side, that I forgot to kind of show off each head. Because it's just one of those, you're going to get excited about new equipment, and it's tough to tough to remember to do everything that you usually do. So, but the Paradym X was really good. Like I said, a little bit louder, just slightly. And again, unless you're hitting probably indoors and you're hitting all three of these side by side, I don't know that you'll really notice a huge difference between the two or the three. But it definitely had, like I said, a little bit higher pitch to it. And it was just a slight bit louder. And I think it's just because it's a more elongated shape. It's a little longer from front to back. It's got a little more area inside there. And I think that noise can kind of bounce itself off a little bit, and it raises it up. But again, I was very impressed with the sound and feel on both of them. And then the one that kind of, the driver that's kind of surprising me a little bit, just because it did kind of perform the best in terms of numbers. And actually, I kind of felt pretty good swinging it. Was the Paradym Triple Diamond, which the Triple Diamond over the years has been the kind of the most neutral, if not slightly fade biased driver, and it has been kind of the one that a lot of better players and high spin spin players have gravitated towards, because it is the lowest spinning and the most compact. The look of it is good. Like I said, the big difference is you notice that there's no chevron on the crown. So it's just a flat black crown, nothing there to distract you or anything like that. I don't mind the chevron on the crown. It's not that big of a deal to me. It doesn't really bother me. I guess I've played so many Callaway drivers in the past that it's just, I'm almost expect it there. It's just kind of their look. So much like some people look at like the Titleist and they have the little, like, was it the DCI triangle, and they love that look, and it's just certain things you tend to gravitate towards. So the Triple Diamond was the longest with a carry at 232 on average, and the spin was about 70, almost 80 RPM less, so at 29.21. And this was all actually with the heavyweight in the back. I know if you're watching this on YouTube, the heavyweight is in the front at the moment, but I did switch them out. But when I was hitting it for all these numbers, the heavyweight was in the back, because realistically, that's probably the way I would set it up. In terms of low spin, I don't necessarily need that. I'm not a super high spin guy, and moving that 14-gram weight from the front to the back will add a little bit of stability to the club head. And in terms of a spin number, I did move it back afterwards. So I bought I had a bucket, hit all those, went back, bought another one, was hitting more balls, and I did go back and switch them out because I did want to see the difference. For me, moving the weight forward to back for me was about 200, about 200 RPM. It was about 200 to 250 RPM on most shots was the difference between moving the heavyweight forward and back, and that's about what it switched up for me. Your mileage may vary depending on the player, but I noticed about 250 RPM. So with the weight in the back at 29.21, if I moved that thing forward, it would probably be more on the 2,700 mark if I was hitting the exact same shots. With it, it was, like I said, about 200 to 250 RPM difference when I switched them. But 29.21 in terms of spin, 2,921 was the average. The highest ball speed at 145.2. My highest smash at 146. And then I did have kind of the, I would call it, not a flat ball flight, but the apex was 81 feet with a launch of 11.1. So definitely came out the lowest out of the three. But it didn't have the flattest ball flight there, which the Paradigm ended up having. So interesting thing that I was hitting this thing so well, because again, I didn't really expect it to. I expected to be a Paradigm guy, and the Triple Diamond stuff I wouldn't say stay away from. I just I know my game, and I typically don't gravitate towards it immediately because I know I need a little more forgiveness. But this thing, with the weight in the back, the 14-gram weight in the back, it definitely has some forgiveness to it, and it definitely had some ball stay on line. I was really impressed in terms of dispersion on this. Was really good. I think this one had the most neutral ball flight for me. Even hit a few. They weren't fades or slices. It was just starting off on a line that was a little bit right. But I was able to kind of hit that one a little more straight. Definitely the hardest one to turn over out of the three. I saw kind of the lowest amount of kind of those gentle little draws and all that out of it. For me, it was kind of a straight ball flight, a little bit of draw. Now, I do have to say, I mean, some of the misses there with that were a little more detrimental, especially if you hit something hard out in the toe. The Paradym and Paradym X tended to kind of hold the line a little bit better. You didn't miss it as low and left as you did with the Triple Diamond. That kind of did penalize you a little bit. But overall, like I said, the weight in the back, it was pretty forgiving, much more forgiving than I thought it would be. I think much more forgiving than last year's Triple Diamond, because I hit that, and when I could swing it good, I was great, and when I had a bad swing, the thing was pretty demanding, and it was a struggle. The Triple Diamond here, the Paradigm, I think is definitely a much more forgiving version, and I think there's a chance that could actually be playable for me. I mean, that's, again, not the most stable. I mean, the other two, I think, definitely will be more stable out on the course, but I think that Triple Diamond is going to be a much more playable head for a lot of players who maybe need a little more forgiveness, but they swing it hard and fast. They create a lot of spin, and they need to kind of go that route towards the player driver, but they need the forgiveness. I think this adds some, especially compared to last year. But overall, super impressed with all three drivers. I can't wait to hit them more. I can't wait to compare them to some other stuff that's either out or coming out. And there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a big driver battle year this year, I think. But the Paradigm stuff for me, I think, is probably some of the best drivers they've had for me, for my game, than in years. Like I said, OG Epic was the last time I truly gamed a Callaway driver. Just from the short time I've had them so far, I think there's definitely a chance that one of these makes it into the bag. I just don't see. I just feel comfortable swinging it right out of the gate. I know I'm doing drivers today. When I talk about fairways, the fairways are really, really good. That Triple Diamond, Paradym Triple Diamond fair 3-wood, it's making a case for the bag already. Like I haven't felt that comfortable with a 3-wood in a long time in terms of right out of the gate hitting some shots, and it was crazy impressive. So I was super excited about the fairway woods in general. The hybrids look awesome. The whole line looks really good. Irons are absolute cannons, but the hybrids, like I said, especially the standard Paradigm, I think a lot of better players are really going to like the look. They're pretty easy to launch. But yeah, the drivers have been really solid. Like I said, 3 different models. I know most people for sure will be wanting to try the Triple Diamond, the Paradigm. The X is probably going to, depends on the player. But even for a guy like me who doesn't miss right very often and hits majority of draws and hooks in his game, the X wasn't bad. I do have to say, like I said, I was very shocked at how well the X played. and it does take the right side out of play, which is nice to have kind of only a one-way miss, but all three I think are really, really good. And I think the Callaway Paradigm line is going to do is going to be tough to beat this year. I think it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of drivers that are tough to beat. I think these ones are definitely going to be up there, and I think there's going to be a lot of these in bags when you get out into the courses. Well, in the north here, when you get out there in the spring and in summer and all that, I think you're going to see a lot of these in bags. But overall, I'm super impressed. I want to hit, like I said, I'm excited to hit more of them. For me right now, if I had to play one right now, right on the course, the Triple Diamond is going with me. But that may change, when I actually get out to the course and the range. And like I said, the Paradigm, I want to mess with the sliding weight a little bit, throw that bad boy into fade a little bit, and draw slightly, and just see kind of how how much different it swings when we get that sliding weight moving. But like I said, the weight on the Triple Diamond front to back, I saw, like I said, 200 to 250 RPM change when I did switch that out. So it was and launch didn't really change much for me. It went down slightly, but it was kind of, if you kind of took an average, I think it would probably be a hair lower than 11.1, but not a whole lot. I would say you're looking at maybe half a degree, something like that. The numbers in terms of launch were all pretty similar. It just in terms of spin kind of lowered that a little bit. So if you're looking to test these out, I think the pre-order on Callaway's website says January 13th. I don't remember exactly when they will be in actual stores. I think it will probably be sometime in February in terms of the actual par date. Let me see if I can actually get you that, because I know in our article we probably have it. I probably just didn't see it. February 24th. These will be for sale in your local shop, but I think they will be available for fittings and all that probably in the next few weeks. I would say probably before the end of January. You're going to see these heads available to hit and go get fit for and all that. So the new Paradigm drivers, I'm super impressed. I'm excited, man. It is new club launch, and that is always just awesome. So I'm excited. Excited for next week as well. I get on a flight Sunday. I head out to the Kingdom, TaylorMade's Kingdom. I head out on Sunday morning, and I'll be there for a couple days. We're gonna have some Golf WRX members out of the forum going to get fit for drivers as well. So I'm going to be there attending that and seeing what the other boys, if Callaway's the Hatfields, we're going over to the McCoys and we'll check out what they have. But we're having some people go get fit for their stuff. So please follow along Golf WRX on Instagram and the forums, anything like that. We'll be posting a lot of stuff from there. And then also please follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. Hopefully I'll do my Q&A today and get that rolling. But really excited for this new launch season. Like I said, I've hit a few other drivers. One of them I can't talk about yet because the embargo hasn't hit. And then I did hit some of the new Strixon stuff, but really, really limited. So I'm going to hit some more of those before we do an initial review on those. But my initial thoughts on the Paradigm, they're worth trying, man. If you're looking for a new driver this year, you'd be doing yourself a disservice not to try everything. But you definitely need to go out and hit a few of these the Paradigm drivers. So they're really good. So again, hopefully you guys have a great week, have a great weekend, and hopefully you got home safe from all your holiday travels. I know that was a nightmare from seeing what was on the news. But excited to be back for another year, talking about some gear, talking about some clubs, hanging out with you guys. It's just a blast. So appreciate everything from last year. Always humbled by everybody who says they listen or like the show and all that. And it's extremely humbling, and I really appreciate anybody taking your time out of your busy life, your busy schedule to spend some of it with me. Is like I said, very humbling, and I appreciate everybody who does. So thank you, and looking forward to this year. Hopefully we'll test out some new stuff and get a lot of product in our hands, and it'll be a great time. So have a great week. We'll talk to you later.